The East Tennessee Hills are about to come alive with the sound of stock cars. 51 Busch Series cars, haulers, crews, and equipment are jammed into the infield at Bristol Motor Speedway for Busch pole qualifying. Track is clear, getting set to go to set the 43-car field for tomorrow night's race under the lights. Big point battle in the Busch Series. Let's pick it up with Bob Dillner.
The last time the Busch Series visited the Bristol Motor Speedway, the points leader Martin Truex Jr. won that race. But this time he's got a little deal going with his truck driver, Bob Tracy. Check this out. This is their beer cooler. He says, listen, Bob's beer, Martin, you can have all you want. If you get the pole, second place, you have 2 beers. Anything else, you go to the bus and think about what you have done. Well, Martin, what do you think about that? How many beers are you going to be drinking tonight?
Tonight I won't be drinking any no matter what because I got a race tomorrow. But he's not even really our real truck driver. He's just a backup for the weekend, so you can't pay attention to anything he says. So, you know, it's just the way he is. He's a little crazy like that sometimes. Old Bob.
Hey, same car as you won with here in the springtime. What do you think your chances are? I know you like the car during practice.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think a lot of guys are, you know, stepped up their game, seems like, obviously. And our car was pretty good in practice. It started off the truck pretty good, and we made some changes that were a little bit better, some that were a little worse. And I think we found a good place to start happy hour with. But our first mock-up run, I kind of screwed up and drove too hard. So we were faster our second time out, and hopefully we can get a little bit of speed and hopefully just get in the top 5. That'd be a good spot for us. You need to start front here, so hopefully we do that.
Marty Schneider is with the guy that is chasing him for the title.
And he's also, Bob, the guy that has won the last 2 races in the Busch Series. 4th fastest in practice this morning, Kyle Busch, but you drew the #1 pill. You have to go out first today. Is that a disadvantage here at Bristol?
I don't know. I don't think it'll be too bad. It might be a little bit because the crossover, you know, there's a little bit of dirt that'll get drawn up over there. But overall, I think it'll be all right. Lowe's Chevrolet's been doing pretty good today. And, you know, hopefully we can qualify somewhere up front. Top 5 would be nice. But, you know, I was joking earlier with Parrott. He was telling me I should go and hurry up, draw the #1, and I ended up getting 1, but he got #2, so I'm going to go bust on him here in a minute.
Yeah, you should do that. Talk about the momentum this team has built just in the last 2 weeks.
It's been tremendous. I mean, going up to IRP after our month of July there, you know, we just needed to get a good run and a solid run, and, you know, I didn't think that we were going to be able to be that good, and we were actually pretty decent there towards the end of the race, and I was real proud of the guys on what all they've done throughout the day. You know, the 8 car sat around most of the time just sitting there and, you know, twiddling their thumbs because they tested there and had a good car, so we worked and worked and worked, and then we went up to Michigan, and, you know, we were able to have a dominant car up there pretty much after the 8 car tested up there too. So it's just been a whirlwind so far here in the month of August, but we still got the rest of the year to go. We got to chisel away at that points a little bit more.
Trying to cut into that points lead, which was over 100 points just a few weeks ago. Kyle finished 3rd here in March. Mike?
Let's have a look at those points, Marty. 97 back of Martin Truex Jr. is Kyle Busch. Jason Leffler just barely within striking distance, as is Greg Biffle. But from Ron Hornaday on down, going to be a long road over these next and final 11 races of the season. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the world's fastest half mile. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Jeff Hammond with you once again. And Jeff, let's talk about the concrete canyons of Bristol. Is there a big difference between building a car that's fast and a car built to last here?
You got to have both. I'm telling you that right now, Mike. When you come here, it's a roller coaster ride that all the drivers dream to come and have a chance to get around on. But if you don't have a race car that's put together properly, this racetrack will tear it apart. If physically and mentally you're not ready to get the job done here, there again, this racetrack will extract its toll on you, because these 36-degree bankings that you slam into lap after lap will definitely get your attention, because it is bad fast, and you better be able to pull them belts tight and get ready to go for a wild ride. Right, Larry McReynolds?
You better believe it. I mean, there is more banking here than we have at Daytona and Talladega. It's only a half-mile racetrack, and it's going to happen in about 15 seconds a lap. And I've been fortunate enough to be here with a driver that qualified good, and I'd ask him what the car did. He couldn't even catch his breath, and when he finally catches his breath, he'd tell me, I have no idea. I was just hanging on.
A lot of fellas say you have to brave it out here at Bristol, and the equation falls more to driver than it does to car in qualifying here. Tomorrow night, under the lights, right behind the front stretch grandstand, right before the Busch Series race. It'll be trackside live, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Speed. A 51-car field, and a field of good cars bolstered by all of these drivers who are trying for both the Busch and the Cup race. And the 4 bulleted drivers ran the truck race as well. A real busy weekend for 4 fellas. Here's Bob with one of them.
That's right. Carl Edwards won the Craftsman Truck Series race last night, but now you're in a Busch Series car. How are things going, and how's qualifying looking?
Well, we'll see how it goes. I don't have much experience in a Busch car, but Robbie Benton and Mac Tools and all the guys came together and said, hey, you know, if you want to do this, it'll be a fun thing to go do, and I think it'll help me for tomorrow or for Saturday night's race a little bit. If there's any way to prepare for that, you know, I don't know if there is, but I figure this would be a good way.
Tomorrow night it will be Carl Edwards' second career Busch Series start. Marty?
Well, Bob, one of those guys pulling triple duty is Kevin Harvick, who made a mistake last night in the Craftsman Truck Series race. So why run all these races, Kevin?
I just enjoy racing here. You know, last night we raced the Goodwrench Silverado, and then we have the Risa Chevrolet, and then we have the Team Realtree Chevrolet tomorrow and Saturday, whatever night we race on. I'm confused this week. So just enjoy racing here. We've had a lot of success here, and just look forward every time we come back. So should be a fun weekend. Started off, we were 5th and disappointed with that. I missed the pit road flag and never got back by everybody. So hopefully we won't make that mistake anymore.
The 3-time Bristol winner will be the 3rd car to go out in qualifying today, Mike.
Thanks, Marty. Qualifying coming up here in just a couple of minutes at the world's fastest half mile for the NASCAR Busch Series. NASCAR Drivers 360 Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Speed. And qualifying next. The hottest seat in the Busch Series has been the Renzi's number 25 car. Bobby Hamilton Jr. has been their driver all season, contending for the championship. Early this week, he was released from that car. They named Jeff Green as his replacement until Green checked with the Petties, he drives for in the Cup Series, and the Dodge people. And Green will not take that ride and reunite with Harold Holley. Instead, Mike McLaughlin will be behind the wheel of car number 25, and he and Harold Holley have an interesting history. Mike is with Bob Dillner.
That's right, and Mike McLaughlin, he's wiped off the cobwebs and he's ready to go racing. But Mike, when did you get the call?
Well, about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I had no idea I'd be going to Bristol. Katie and I were having lunch, and Sam called me, and they're a little bit of a bind, and I was glad to help out Sam and Ed Renzi. They're good people, and be a part of Team Marines Racing, and that's awesome. And then to work with Harold, I had to get up off the couch and go to work.
Well, Mike McLaughlin is ready to go. He's a 6-time winner here in the NASCAR Busch Series. He goes out 49th here during qualifying. Marty?
Well, Bob, Matt Kenseth doesn't go out till 37th. And the last 2 times here, we were just talking, you said you had the car that could win the race, but didn't come home with a trophy. You got a car good enough to win the race, you think, so far?
I hope so. I mean, we might not have been the car to win the race the last 2 times, the whole race, but at the time when we had our trouble, we were. So hopefully we can get it running okay. Our Bear car seems pretty good in practice, worked mostly on race, just did one little qualifying blast there at the end, and it's driving pretty good. So it's a exciting place to race at Bristol. You never know exactly, what's going to happen. Half the guys will leave here mad, and it'll be 4 or 5 that'll leave here happy. So hopefully we're one of the 4 or 5.
The winner a couple of weeks ago at New Hampshire. Mike?
It was Jeremy Mayfield who once said racing at Bristol's like tumbling in a clothes dryer for 2 or 3 hours. The Truck Series rolls on to Richmond. The Craftsman Truck Series lives on Speed. Saturday, or September 9th rather, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Speed, and of course live. Speaking of Jeremy Mayfield, and that was a minute ago, he will be Dave Despain's guest tonight on Wind Tunnel, 10 p.m. live, only on Speed. Big field here at Bristol, and some heavy hitters right up in the early going.
It really is. When you look at Kyle Busch, he'll be the first car to roll out. Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick. Normally, you don't want to be the first car out because it's been about an hour and a half to 2 hours since they practiced, and it seems like when these tracks sit there, they bleed all out of the surface. The only saving grace may be the sun's not out. It's somewhat cloudy, so maybe it won't be quite as slick as if there's been no one on the track for the last 2 hours.
And guys, one of the interesting things when you get ready to see Kyle Busch go down the back straightaway, commence taking the starting qualifying, is the fact that as fast as they were in practice early, you got to believe that the track record may be in jeopardy.
Going for 3 straight wins. Last time anyone did that was 1999. Dale Jr. won Dover, South Boston, and Watkins Glen for the last 3 in a row performance.
Kyle's lap in practice, again, you heard him say he was 4th quickest, was a 15:33. That's average of 125 miles per hour. These guys are running almost 150 at the end of the straightaway.
He's quicker than that, Larry.
15:26. I think we're going to see some cars maybe run a little quicker on their second lap. Maybe some cars run quicker on their first lap. Kyle actually slows down on his second lap. That's I think he's going to feel good. He at least came back and mirrored or a little better than what he practiced.
So 15:26 for the Lowe's Briggs & Stratton Chevy of Kyle Busch, who has 4 poles this season thus far. Here is the man that Kyle Busch just tied for the series record for wins by a driver in his rookie year. Greg Biffle won 5 in 2001.
And Greg Biffle is still all smiles from last weekend at Michigan when he was able to get his Nextel Cup car back to victory lane. He looked like he got a pretty good lap going here, guys.
Yeah, he was 5th quickest in practice. He did sit on the Busch pole here in the spring.
And he likes this place, Larry. 4 top 10 starts in 6 races. 3 of the last 4 Bristol's top 5 finish.
Now his first, whoa.
Yeah, he took a big slide into turn 3.
Well, and I think what happened, Jeff, and we see this so many times, is these guys, well, it will feel good the first lap. They'll think, I can get a little more on his second lap. But he mirrors to the thousandths of the second Kyle Busch's time. But because Kyle Busch is in front of him as far as points, Kyle Busch would start in front of Greg Biffle.
Remember, it wasn't that long ago we thought hundredths of a second was enough. Now we're down to timing to the thousandth of a second, and that's not quite enough.
No.
We still have ties. Kevin Harvick qualified 3rd at Daytona in February, California, and Daytona in July. All 13 of his starts this year have been in the first 7 rows.
Tell you what, though, he likes this place. He has 8 starts here, 3 wins, 2 poles, finished 2nd here in the spring.
He goes to the front with a 15:22 on his first lap.
That's about a 1/10 of a second quicker than he ran in practice, so it don't appear that the track has slowed down any.
Second lap is 2/100ths slower, so Harvick is our fastest qualifier, trying for his 2nd win of the season.
Boy, this place is so fast. I heard a driver say earlier in the week that when you get to race in this place, you go around here so quick, you lose the fact of where you're at on the racetrack. You don't know if you're in turns 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. The only way you know is for a second or a half a second, you'll see the flag stand on the front stretch.
But to back that up, Larry, you know, as a crew chief, when you're sitting up there calling out times and trying to write down the lap times around this place, you've really got to have a pretty good system. Otherwise, it's almost like you write it down, look up, and he's already back around and clock the next lap.
You need a fast pen. Rick Markle from Fowlerville, Michigan. The 32-year-old is making his first Bristol appearance. He's only run the 3 restrictor plate races in 2004.
Not a very good first lap, 16:07, and this would be one of the cars that has no provisional. He has to qualify on time. We have 51 cars here, so that means 8 cars are going to get their feelings hurt here in about 45 minutes or so.
It won't take long, will it?
No, it will not.
A light crowd on hand here today. And the reason for that is that most of the fans that are in this area, and the campers are everywhere, are all lined up in downtown Bristol for the Fan Fest and Nextel Cup Hauler Parade tonight. So this is about the only activity at the racetrack this afternoon is Busch Series qualifying.
And that's really turned out to be quite a festival as far as what goes on in Bristol. I mean, a lot of these drivers that are here today will go down there tonight, as well as the Nextel Cup drivers will be coming in here to be a part of the festivities. And it's always a really great time. If you happen to be in this area or get done qualifying, slide on down there and check it out.
The AC Delco Chevy of Ron Hornaday, who's 5th in points, has 2 Truck Series poles and wins here.
He was 12th quickest in practice, but like a lot of these guys, he picks it up about a 1/10 of a second, but he's only going to be 4th quickest, slowed down just a little bit on that second lap.
15:34.
Let's go to pit road.
Greg Biffle fast on the first lap, a little slip on that second lap. How much did that hurt?
That hurt a lot. I tell you, man, I got across 1 and 2 just flat that last time. Got it down in there and was able to hold it down the whole way. Probably would have been a 15 flat, a qualified 15 flat here in the spring, and that was one of those laps coming, but it just got away from me down there. I'm just glad I saved the car.
Unfortunately for Greg Biffle, there's no ties in racing, guys.
Derek Cope up next, making his 75th NASCAR Busch Series start tomorrow night, his 20th of the season. Last top 10 he got in this series was right here.
Jeff, this car don't look like it's down in the racetrack. It's almost like it's just skating around all the way through the corners. Derek was 46th quickest in practice.
As they say, I think that car is very nervous and very unstable right now. She's jumping all over the place like a pogo stick. The car does not look good at all.
And it's reflected on the watch, 15.805, the first lap, and the second lap slower.
But Mike, you talk about figuring these times out to the thousandths of a second. When I look at the practice sheet, from first, who was Mike Bliss, back to about the 36th place car was less than half a second on the stopwatch. Tight field.
Travis Geisler in the Tucson number 36. He's from Pittsburgh, but Nashville's his adopted home as he's a graduate of Vanderbilt, mechanical engineering major.
You know, ever since I've met this young man, guys, he's really impressed me. He's been very calm but very steady since he got around the middle of his 36 car. And he usually does a pretty good job qualifying and pretty smooth at racing.
Well, racing's in his blood. His father, Lynn, a legend in Western Pennsylvania late model racing.
He works in the shop every day, just like everyone else that works on this race car. And he said earlier in the week, I know what it takes, I think, to get around Bristol. You have to survive it. Plus, whatever I tear up, I have to be a part of fixing it.
That crew includes Ricky Pearson, David's middle son, and Travis, 15.68. He's going to be holding his breath for a little while longer with that time. Probably get him in on time, but it could be close.
Yeah, he picked up, just like about everyone, about a tenth of a second. But, yeah, that could be real close.
David Green, the Timberwolf Chevy, has 12 top 10 starts here. He is 6th in the point standings.
Won a race here back in the mid-90s. Mark Martin was leading. Caution came out. David Green was running second. Mark Martin pulled the pit road on the white flag lap. David Green took the checker flag and the win.
Christmas come early.
Christmas come in May 1994.
David's first lap, 15.29. That puts him 4th quickest. David going to run a Nextel Cup race in a couple of weeks up at Richmond with this race team here, his Busch Series team. They tested up there a couple of weeks ago.
Goes up to second, Larry, 15.23.
And look, he only picked up about a half a tenth, but he picked up about 4 positions.
That's how close it is at the top. In the 15.2s, 4 of the 8 cars that have run are about 15.2 seconds and quicker than 15.3.
Very tight field so far. And, Larry, I don't know about you, but we talk a little bit sometimes about going out here early or going out late. I think sometimes some drivers respond really well to pressure. And you realize how you need to pick up a little bit. And other times, I know I've worked with some drivers, I'd assume them stay away from the timing monitor so they don't try to put too much pressure on themselves. Overdrive the corner here. It's real easy to do and get yourself in trouble.
Stay away from the timing monitor and other drivers that's already qualified.
Exactly right. They do a mind game on it.
There's an analogy that starts out go early or else, but I forget the rest of it. Casey Atwood on the speedway, 17th in the point standings. Started 3rd at Milwaukee on the mile, turned 24 years old yesterday.
Casey was 25th quickest in practice. He picks it up on his second lap. He'll be 6th quickest at a 15.38.
It's a pretty good little pickup. He run like a 15.90, 15.59 in practice, so good pickup.
That's good pickup, 2 tenths. Jason Leffler in the net 00 Chevrolet.
You know, they've been strong here lately, but where their strong point has been all year long has been qualifying. But this group struggled in practice here earlier today, only 34th quickest.
Larry's only got 1 top 10 start here, and he does not have a top 20 finish in 3 starts at this track. So trying to work it out. He's raced 1 Cup and 2 Cup races here, as well as 3 Busch Series starts. 15.45 the first lap, 7th quickest.
That's quite a pickup from what he ran in practice, about 3 tenths.
Second lap done, and he falls off just a bit. So Jason Leffler will be 7th of 10. Kevin Harvick and David Green are fastest so far in Bristol. Welcome back to Bristol, where Ashton Lewis turned a lap of 15.65, 8th fastest. This is Jeff Fuller, former modified champ from Massachusetts, 15.61. That is now 8th quickest.
I don't think he'll pick it up though in this second lap. That car got real loose with him off turn 2. He had to get completely out of the throttle.
1996, Jeff Fuller won this race from the pole. For car owner Tad Geschichter, his only Busch Series victory. He was the 95 Series Rookie of the Year, and that first lap will be his quickest. Bob?
Kevin Harvick playing a little dodgeball down here, standing outside of his rig. Dodgeball, because you know there's a couple guys that you got to duck, but is that good enough?
I don't know. It was a good lap for the Risa Chevrolet, but anybody can beat you at this place. You know, you just got to hit everything right, and that was 2 really good laps. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Nevertheless, Kevin Harvick will be starting somewhere near the front, if not on the pole. Martin Truex Jr., one of the guys he's going to have to dodge.
You're a brave man talking dodgeball to a Chevy guy. Caleb Holman ran Nashville in April. This Pioneer Chevrolet will be his 4th race. He's from right up the street, Abingdon, Virginia. He's just a little bit northeast of Bristol.
He's going to be the slowest of the 13 cars that has qualified, and where this car is in owner points, it's going to be borderline right there. Quite a ways down the points list.
Second lap's better, but it does not move him up off of 13th position.
You watch him inside the car there. He was really had his hands full with this race car. Again, car was not down inside the racetrack, bouncing around a lot, so he really couldn't get back after it like he needed to.
What's the usual cause of that? We've seen that a couple of times now.
Sometimes it's shock package. This racetrack is very rough, and hitting the right shock package, because you really need to go down, Mike, and use the apron here. Like a little different than a lot of racetracks. You want to kind of hook that apron, help kind of rotate the car into the center of the corner, but you've got to be able to get back to the power very aggressively off the corner to make up, make good speed here.
Here's a fellow trying to hook a big one. The Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boat Chevy, a point leader, Martin Truex Jr. from Mayetta, New Jersey. 6 pole positions thus far this season.
That is his very first career Busch Series win here in the spring race.
And Mike, I want to point out, if you look at Martin Truex's car now, it is going around this racetrack very quick, riding these bumps, and the car looks very smooth. You watch the other cars, a lot of times they're jumping around. That's usually a pretty good indication the shock package is not working. And for Martin, he wound up 5th fastest.
Yep, second lap was slower.
Yeah, you want the car to be steady. You want the wheels to go up and down. You don't want the car going up and down.
He has led the point standings now for 9 races. He has a 97-point lead coming into Bristol. He comes here out of the Busch North Series. Another young fellow from that series, 19-year-old Ryan Moore, may be headed for Busch South next season, as well as a number of owners in this series casting their eye north for new talent, especially after the success of Martin Truex.
Motor Speedway, you see the fans here at the racetrack enjoying Busch Series qualifying, Busch Pole Day. Currently Kevin Harvick on the pole, and this guy David Green is outside of Kevin Harvick. Nice lap for you there, David.
Thank you. My guys did a great job. We unloaded not real good, and they turned it around good for me, and I really thought that was a pole winning lap there, but just barely got beat. But that's okay. It's a long race tomorrow. And before we go any further, I got to say thanks to APCO Stores, Danny Blackburn, all those folks. Had a dinner with them last night. Big supporters of Timberwolf, and thanks to Timberwolf for putting us here at Bristol at the most exciting track we run all year long for another exciting race here.
David and his team tested here 2 weeks ago. The test lasted about 2 hours. Lost an engine. It was a one-day test, so they had to turn around and go home. Bob?
Martin Truex Jr. not exactly smiling after that one. Well, there's a little smile. How was that?
It was okay. It was all right, just off a little bit, missed a little bit, loose getting in the corner, but great job by Bo and all the guys. It's good to have Bass Pro Shots back on the car, and hopefully all them people will be there this weekend, and we can give them something to cheer about.
It is a good starting spot for Martin Truex Jr., but guys, remember that bet from Bob Tracy? Well, Martin said he wouldn't be drinking any beer because tonight is a school night. Well, he's got to go back to the rig and think about what he has done.
Well, leave it to Tracy to set up a contest that nobody could win. He will keep the beer, unless he shares it with you, Bob.
He'll win the contest.
We'll be back to continue Busch Pole qualifying. Welcome back to Bristol, where Paul Menard, who did not start at Michigan, trying to make his 47th career start. Turtle Wax Menard's number 11.
Picks it up a little over a tenth of what he practiced, but he did have the fastest car in practice at Michigan until qualifying was rained out and he didn't have a spot.
He picked up just a little bit more, guys, and now he moved up to 6th place with a 15:33 on that second lap. So good job here by the young man driving the brightly painted number 11.
Now, while we were away, J.J. Yaley made his run in the Vigoro Home Depot. Number 18, 15:49 for Yaley, which right now is 10th quickest. Boy, here's a blast from the past. Mike Potter from Johnson City, longtime campaigner in what was the NASCAR's late model sportsman division that became the Busch Series. He has only run one Busch Series race here at Bristol, and that was March of last year. This year, he's run at Nazareth and Milwaukee.
But if he wants to race in front of the hometown crowd here, he's going to have to pick it up. He was 49th quickest in practice. Now he's 15th quickest, and this is another car that's very borderline on a provisional start.
Johnson City Iron and Metal G-Force Chevrolet, 1589, 1587. Holds at 15th out of 17.
6/10 off the pole guy, but he's second from the bottom. Third from the bottom.
A lot of the big guns drew late draws. Mike Bliss, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mike Wallace, Tony Raines all go near the bottom of the order today. This is David Stremme. His Trim Spa Dodge will be the 18th car to qualify.
He was 29th quickest in practice. Had a good run going here in the spring, running in the top 5, and got caught up in one of about 8 wrecks in the last 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, that little episode between him and Johnny Benson was kind of, I don't know, representative of what Bristol brings out in everybody.
Yeah, didn't he think Benson was another horse of the same color? Perhaps.
I think mistaken identity, I think, was what happened.
He was hunting Kevin Harvick and found Johnny Benson.
That's right.
It was either brake failure or, you know.
Good run.
Wow, 5th fastest, 15:28.
Picked it up quite a bit on that second lap.
Yep.
1/10 of a second.
That'll push the fans back in their seats. Good lap, and he is the fastest, also the only Dodge so far to qualify, but that's a strong lap for Stremme. Another hometown hero is Eric McClure. Abingdon, Virginia, as we mentioned, just up the road a little bit, up I-81 from Bristol, Virginia. The Duraglass number 56 for McClure, trying to make his 4th start of the season and his 1st at his home racetrack.
He's going to need to probably pick it up at least a couple of tenths from what he practiced. He was 35th quickest at a 15:77. See what Eric can do on this first lap. 15:64. That's going to be awfully borderline. That car is somewhat borderline, not completely safe as far as owner provisional points.
Second lap right on top of the first. So McClure's first of 15:64 is it. Marty?
Well, J.J. Yeley, we were in break when you went, so we thought we'd talk to you about how your first lap at Bristol was in qualifying. That's a different kind of place than what you're used to, isn't it?
It definitely is. You know, we tested here a couple weeks ago, and the Vigoro Home Depot car was pretty good. We've really struggled here a little bit today in practice. We just couldn't get the car to be consistent. One lap was loose, next lap it was pushing real bad. So, you know, the car was pretty consistent. We just need to pick up a little bit, and we'll hopefully be able to run up front.
There's a little too loose in on his qualifying lap. Currently 11th. Bob?
Well, David Stremme was on top of the leaderboard this morning during practice, and he spun. Then he said the car was junk. Well, it looked pretty good there.
Yeah, Trim Spot Dodge is back to normal now, I should say. We looped it in practice, and guys worked hard on the car. And, I mean, it's a brand-new car. Our other one got wrecked here in the spring, and I think we got a pretty good piece now.
David Stremme certainly knows how to get around this racetrack pretty quick.
Joe Buford, many times a champion at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. He's made 18 starts. His last at the Nashville Super Speedway in June of '03. So it's his first race this season. He started 12th here at Bristol back in 1999.
He's going to be pretty much go or go home, and it's not going to happen with that first lap. 18th quickest, 15:94, so he really needs to pick it up on this second lap.
He got a 10th, but that will probably not be enough. Buford is 17th. Tennessee Mountain Boys Chevrolet.
And guys, I guess if I did my math right, you got to beat 13 cars to make sure you're in the field today, correct?
To make the top 38, correct.
38. To remove all doubt whether you get the race.
That's it. Stacy Compton from Grit, Virginia, in the Food City Kingsford Charcoal Chevrolet. One top 10 start this year came at Nashville. He finished second at Pikes Peak. And he's run 3 truck, 5 Busch, and 3 Cup races here at Bristol.
Stacy was 23rd quickest in practice.
I think he had a pretty good lap going. 10th quickest right now.
Second quickest Ford with a 15:39.
New crew chief over there, Gary Cogswell. And they're back with Stacy now. This will be the 3rd race. Slows down on that second lap, though.
Are you sure that Cogswell is over there? Because it seems like every week you got to go through there and find out what uniform he's wearing.
Well, I think when I talked to him this morning, my question, are you here permanently? And he said, yes, I am.
So he's home?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's giving Jake Elder back his suitcase.
Put it back in the closet for a while.
Okay. Former series champ Steve Grissom from Gadsden, Alabama. Driving the number 24, bereft of sponsorship this weekend.
Steve's been had a pretty successful career here at Bristol, set on the pole a couple times.
And he's the only driver in 44 Bristol Busch races to do what?
To win back-to-back races, spring and fall.
1995.
Steve was 40th quickest in practice. Not a real good first lap, 15:86, only good for 19th quickest. This car should safely have a provisional, not only by owner points, but he's a past champion. And he actually really runs about the same speed on the second lap.
The 5 provisional spots, that last one, the 43rd spot on the grid, is reserved for the most recent active former series champion. And active became a key word last week because Bobby Labonte didn't get the champion's provisional.
Because he had not competed in a Busch Series race in the current year. That's the key.
Or was it in the previous year?
You're right, in the previous year, because he did compete at Texas, but he did not compete last year. You're absolutely right, Mike.
Well, here's Carl Edwards, who is going to be one very tired young man come midnight Saturday. He won the truck race. He's trying to run this Busch race and run the Cup race for Jack Roush. And that's probably more laps than he's ever done in 2 weekends together.
You know what you say about a guy like that? They're gluttons for punishment. They may call it fun, but I promise you they will be paying for it come Sunday.
Tell you what, good first lap, though, 15:31, 7th quickest. But yeah, Mike, to me, the number that's more overwhelming besides 3 races, triple duty, is 950 laps of racing, not to mention another 300 or 400 of practice laps.
Now, this is not a Roush car. This car is owned, isn't it, by 2 fellows who worked for Yates?
Well, actually, Robbie and Bobby Benton. Bobby's the dad. He's a Mac 2 dealer. His son, Robbie, who tries to do some racing. They have Yates motors in the car, and they actually bought this car from PPC, and their entire team, except for Robbie and Bobby, is volunteer help.
So Carl Edwards, if you stayed up late last night, you got to see him take the checkered flag here at Bristol in front of a nice crowd and do his patented backflip off the truck.
You know, he was very emotional after this win right here. But what impressed me was it a green-white checker finish, and he really had a lot of pressure on him. Shane Milne did a great job with it. And we see Jamie McMurray back in the 66 car for Rusty Wallace.
Jamie tested up here a couple of weeks ago. He was 9th quickest. Boy, his car owner in the Busch Series, Rusty, he had a ball, I think, last week driving this Busch car at Michigan.
But Rusty had a tough night last night. His younger son, Steven, ran in the Hooters Cup race here, crashed hard into the turn 3 wall, and was taken to the hospital and I believe held overnight for observation. But he climbed out of that car under his own power and is okay. So here is Jamie McMurray, 3rd on the board with the Dodge with a 15:26.
Guys, on his second lap, he really got through turn 3 and 4. It really looked great. First time in, not quite as good, but he really hustled through on the second lap.
Bob?
11th quick for Casey Kane in the practice, so you made some changes to the car. Do you have a shot at the pole?
I think we got a pretty good shot at, Paul Andrews, this whole Great Clips team. It seems like they've been getting better and better every time we've unloaded here recently. So, I don't know. We might have a shot at it. We'll see.
Casey Kane loves this racetrack. Remember, guys, in the Cup race in the springtime, he was running awful good until he got into an incident.
It'll be one of his favorite racetracks if it isn't already.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Sauter in the Food City Kleenex Chevy. Pole winner at IRP, where he led 121 laps and finished second.
Larry, wouldn't you say when you come to Bristol, it's pretty obvious you either have a love-hate relationship with it? Because when you take a look at the guys that race here, as Johnny Sauter completes his second lap, he winds up 14th quickest. But you got to run good here, but you got to like it an awful lot if you want to be good.
In patience and perseverance.
Welcome back to Bristol. New sheriff in town, Kenny Wallace. Stacker 2 Chevy. Pole, first lap, and the second lap. Well, that second lap would be good enough for the top half dozen or so. 15:22 is the new time to beat.
Round this week, baby, from Ed Teston. Yes, sir.
Now, Jimmy Kitchens just ran a lap of.
That was everything.
Jim McMurray offering congratulations to Kenny Wallace. Now let's get down there.
Jamie McMurray with his head inside the window for Kenny Wallace. A big congratulations. Jamie, you improved by about a 10th over your practice time. Is that what you expected?
Yeah, for some reason the car had a miss off each corner. It handled really well. It just wouldn't accelerate. So that's pretty good. I think we were 9th in practice, and we're going to beat that. And I have not top 10, I don't think, here in the Busch car, but I've run really well and run really well in the Cup car. So one of my favorite racetracks, and we were really fast this morning in race trim. So looking forward to a happy hour in the race tomorrow night.
Jamie McMurray very happy, but the guy inside the Stacker 2 Chevy right now, he's grinning from ear to ear.
Meanwhile, John Hayden has caught the wall on the Spectra Metals 31W insulation Chevy. Hayden's first lap 16:48. That would not make the show, and now that car has some pretty heavy damage. I want to apologize for the inappropriate language you may have heard a moment ago, and we do not condone that and try to restrict it where possible. Our apologies. Hayden having a tough time there after coming off turn 4, trying to better 16:48.
See right there, I believe he was, you talked about clipping the apron, Jeff, earlier. I think he was too far on the apron. Car got loose. You see his bumper bars coming out from underneath the car, sliding down the racetrack right there. Just hooked that asphalt, car just came around on it.
And when you do that, Larry, what it does is basically what we call it unloads it. Wedge goes out of the car, and all of a sudden around it comes. Not a whole lot of driver can do about that.
That's pretty hard impact.
It was a hard lift.
Hayden is now climbing out of the car as you look at Kenny Wallace, who right now is the fastest man on the nation's fastest half mile.
NASCAR Busch Series qualifying live from Thunder Valley at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and the man on the provisional pole right now talking to Jamie McMurray is Kenny Wallace. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'm real happy with the lap. It was everything I had. But, you know, last night, Stephen Wallace, what is Stephen? I mean, I've got brain fade. I'm breathing so hard.
He's your buddy, but he's also your nephew.
Yeah, he's my nephew. I just got done running the fast lap ever around somewhere. But Jamie was spotting for Stephen. Yeah. Stephen was running 10th, run 5th to 8th all night long, and he had the worst wreck of his life. And we did as good as we could for him last night. He looked like he was on dirt, didn't he, Stephen?
Yeah, he was definitely free enough. And he said he had him raise the track more. I was like, I can't believe he's going to do that. But he did a really good job. Just got really loose and then got out from underneath him. But I was pretty impressed last night. Yeah. A lot of patience.
Well, good news is that he's okay, actually. I heard from the Hooters Pro Cup people today. But how about you? The last time you were on the pole here, I was just told Jeff Hammond was your crew chief.
Yes, and I remember that, Jeff. We had backwards rear springs. You remember that?
That's right.
350 left rear, 325 right rear. Times have changed. But no, thanks to Jeff for that pole. That was awesome. You know, I've always had pretty good success here, and the car was just perfectly loose on old tires. I said, leave it alone. I said, I think we can go get him. And I really was going for the pole. You know, when you don't have a shot for the pole, you keep the car tight so you get a good solid lap in. I told the guys, I said, screw it. I said, we're going for the pole. If I wreck, I'll end up in Johnson City. And my brother Mike goes, what are you breathing so hard for? I said, because I had the belts really tight. So it's a good deal. We've been testing. I want to thank Bill Davis for letting us test Richmond yesterday. We haven't tested all year long, so I want to thank Bill and Gail for that. He's telling me I got to hurry up. So Stacker 2 Chevy, YJ Stinger.
Keep on drinking that, and I know Marty Schneider, you might have some of that drinking that right now, right?
I'll leave that to you and Kenny over there, Bob, if that's okay with you. Kenny, the fastest man right now. Mike Bliss was the fastest guy in practice earlier today, but that's a pretty quick time that Kenny Wallace laid down. Can you beat it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we ran a 30, and I thought that was fast. Now I need to run probably a flat, not 20 or 19, but that was the first run, and I always qualify terrible here, and I was pretty excited about that run, and I'll try it. I'll try to run a little faster. I'll probably hold my breath a little bit longer.
All right, if you want, we'll have Larry Mack coach you through your lap, okay?
That's what I need. I need him to tell me to not get in too hard, but get on the throttle early, and that's my biggest problem.
All right, Larry Mack and Jeff, you have your job. You got to coach Mike around in his lap.
Easy in, hard off, and hold your breath. But Jeff, now DW knows putting springing backwards worked once, and you did it his entire career.
Whoa. What's wrong with this picture? Michael Waltrip on track in the Aaron's Chevrolet.
Something is not to his liking, and he realizes that if he backs back around, that he has an opportunity to check it out and not go against him. Because if he comes all the way around, Mike, and goes across the start-finish line, that means it's going to be signifying the start of his time. So backing up is pretty much a veteran move right now. But he's looking pretty good coming back. It's pretty smooth.
Is that?
He's running the right line anyhow.
Exactly right.
So things get a little curious here.
Warm-up lap.
Marty, what's going on?
Well, the only word he said on the radio was transmission, and that's it. So now he's backing up, and Jerry Baxter's crew chief doesn't even know what's going on. He's asked once, and Michael has not said anything back, but he said transmission when he started backing up.
And you know what he's done, I believe, Marty? I believe he only has high gear, so what he did is got as far back around as he could. Heard him shift once there, but he at least had a couple of gears, but he wants to try to build as much momentum as he can to the green flag.
Or you want to get more TV time for Aaron. That is a possibility.
With Michael, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys are right. He only has fourth gear. That's why he did that, Larry Mack. Good call.
And of course, you run fourth gear here. Once you get to high gear, you never shift on a lap. His first lap, 12th quickest.
And that's going to be the lap. Now, since Michael doesn't run, it's easy. Run every race? Not quite.
And guys, it was so important that he got that qualifying lap in because he's in the top 35 in Nextel Cup points. He would not have been eligible for a provisional. He had to try to make that lap. And he did.
It will be interesting to find out what Michael's take on all this risk, because I'm sure he will entertain us as well as educate us on what was going on with the 99 car.
Think?
I know.
I'm sure you're
right. I don't know
right.
about the education, but I'll go along with the entertaining.
Hey, he's 12th fastest. That'll educate a bunch of people down there. Michael won here in 1993, and he is the defending champion of this race.
Has a little something different going on with his team this week here. Andy Petrie is consulting with Jerry Baxter in that group. Of course, Michael drove Andy's Craftsman Truck Series truck at IRP a couple of weeks ago.
He wasn't too kind to that truck either, was he?
No, he wasn't. Looked like a Volkswagen when he was finished.
Greenville, South Carolina's Jason Keller, driving for Greg Pollux. 3 poles and 9 top 10 starts in his last 11 Bristol races. Air Plus on the side of the number 22.
He was 15th quickest in practice. They didn't really have that great of a finish here in the spring, but they had a good race car. This car has been sitting on jack stands. He got real loose off turn 4, and that looseness carried all the way down the front straightaway to about the start-finish line, but he's 15th quickest on that first lap.
Good solid lap. Let's see if he can pick it up.
I believe if he can get off turn 4 a little better in that last lap, he may indeed pick it up on this second lap. Nope, slows down actually, a couple of tenths, but he was real loose off turn 4 on that first lap.
He's fallen from 3rd to 7th in the points in 4 races, but this is one of his better racetracks where he has 3 poles and a win. Gus Wasson on the race crew number 10. Looks like Hoover on the hood.
Yep, sure does.
22 races this season. 1 top 20 finish, and he finished top 20 in this race 1 year ago.
Gus was only 42nd quickest in practice. This car looked like some other cars we've seen, just not smooth, not down in the racetrack like it should be.
Decent 20th, 15.64. So that should get him in the top 38.
All he needs to do is beat a couple more cars and he will be.
And the second lap falls off about half a second. So, Bob, what's the story?
Well, let's find out from Michael Waltrip. Obviously very disappointed. What was the scoop?
Well, I complained about a transmission problem all throughout practice, and I think my radio must have been off or something because nobody heard me. But no big deal. You know, we try real hard to spend all the money and do all the things it takes to be a good team, and sometimes we act like we never even done this before. So we'll just regroup. Andy Petrie's joined us for some help that we desperately need, and hopefully we can go forward from here.
Michael, very important. You still got a halfway decent lap in there, and we know that you know how to run this racetrack very well. What about the race?
Well, we had a problem with the right front suspension during practice. Very loud here. Very loud here. We had a problem with the right front suspension during practice and caught it right before qualifying and changed that, and that threw off the balance of the car somewhat. So, you know, I'm mad, but I got great sponsors, Aaron's and all those guys, so I want to say thanks to them, and appreciate you coming by, Bob, and checking on me. I can get better by talking, I guess.
At least we got some good pub for Aaron's. Michael Waltrip very disappointed, kicking the pedals when he came down here and parked on pit road.
Robert Pressley finishes off his lap 13th fastest. Here is Michael when he climbed out of that car after having to deal with a car that had 4th gear and perhaps one other gear working.
Can I add to that? It runs in the family. I've seen that before with his older brother.
But Michael has had enough success at this racetrack. He knows that besides the final lap tomorrow night, the most important lap you can get in here is qualifying. It's so important to qualify good. Just look at those pit boxes right there. They're barely big enough for a car to fit into. No. Remember, you pick your pits by how you qualify. Plus, if you start near the back of the field, when the first caution comes out and it's a single file restart, the leader's taking the green flag. If you're at the back of the field, you're coming off turn 2. You're almost 3/4 of a lap down if you have a bad qualifying effort.
And the other thing, too, when you watch the emotion there with Michael, again, he's had success here. He knows what it takes to be successful here. So when things are not going right, you automatically see what Bristol brings out of you.
Sure.
The frustration, the anxieties of not being able to get it done like you need to. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see how your response comes tomorrow night.
Plus, if he'd only had a 12th place car, he wouldn't have been unhappy with what happened with that lap because he came back. But his car was much better than that. He'll start no better than 12th. Robbie Gordon, the fruit of the loom Chevy. And the rumor mill has kind of swirled around Robbie of late. And he added fuel to that fire last night in an interview after the truck race when he said, who knows, you might see me in the Truck Series some next year.
He had a good run last night. He finished 4th in that truck. Robbie's first lap is 13th quickest, and we were talking about Michael and his transmission problem. I just want to double make sure that we make note Robert Pressley had a good qualifying run, was 14th quickest at 15:37, and Robbie slows down on his second lap, so he'll be right in front of Robert Pressley for the time being.
And I'm not sure if we mentioned, I got interrupted trying to give you Jimmy Kitchen's time during break. 16:01, 119.8 miles an hour, 30th fastest for the Alabama driver in the car number 77. So 33 drivers have had a chance at the clock. That's 18 to go, and still quite a number having to go through inspection. The inspection process quite lengthy and detailed here at Bristol. Each week the inspectors concentrate on different aspects of the car, and here at Bristol they've been extra busy.
You know, I hate to speculate on what Michael was talking about as we see Matt Kenseth in the 17 car take the racetrack for qualifying. He said they had a suspension problem, something that went on a lot here in the spring, not only in the Busch Series, but the Nextel Cup Series. They're running these cars so soft, they slam down in the corner so hard that actually the lower A-arms were bending in two. And it was happening to a lot of teams, in particular Michael Waltrip in the spring.
Hey, they're going to run a night race. So what do they put on the car? Alka-Seltzer Morning Relief. Think they'll be handing that out tomorrow night? I don't know.
You need to get some before you come in here for sure. As he winds up being an 18th quickest after he finishes his first lap as far as Matt Kenseth is concerned. In his second lap, he slowed down just a little bit. I believe Marty Snyder has caught up with one of the competitors down in the garage.
I have, Jeff Hammond, and that is Casey Mears, who was 19th fastest in practice this morning. Got some extra qualifying speed in this thing, Casey?
I think so. We just did one run. I felt like I left some on the table, and some here's a lot. You know, if you have to leave anything on the table at all, there's a lot to be gained. So, you know, hopefully we can run inside the 20s or 30s, and we'll see how it goes. This yellow car's been real good, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. We worked a lot on race trim this morning. Like I said, we did one qualifying run. I feel like we got more, so we'll see how it goes.
Talking about a car that was a rocket ship at Michigan. They only had third and fourth gear. That really hurt them in the race, but they had a fast race car.
Next up, Mark Green, the Yahoo, number 28. Green with a couple of top 15 finishes here at Bristol. He's run 11 races this season. Best start of 12th at Milwaukee.
His first lap puts him 23rd quickest. This is pretty much a go or go home car, the 28 car. And he picks it up a little bit. That's probably going to be safe. And something Mark's been also doing on the side here this year, he's Kyle Petty's spotter in the Nextel Cup Series.
22nd is in the show. He will start no worse than 38th.
He's 13th right now. That's what you want to have happen.
Charlie Henderson's car, the number 75, the Food Country Machine. Runs a limited schedule. Jay Sauter from Wisconsin, the driver.
Got Lay's on the hood of that car. Lay's potato chips. I wouldn't mind some potato chips right now, guys. We're getting hungry.
Let's see what we can do. 7 Busch Series races. Best start of 10th in 2003 and a best finish of 6th in 2000. 2 top 10 finishes for Sauter here.
He was somewhat on that go or go home list, but that first lap should put him in the show for sure. First lap he was 22nd quickest, slows down on the second lap, but he will race tomorrow night.
Marty?
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Getting ready to go out and qualify, and I think of all the cars Kenny Wallace is worried about, you're probably the one. Can you beat Kenny's lap?
If I get lucky. That's a pretty fast lap. We were on a 36 in practice. The late draw may help us, but it might not. Martin didn't really pick up that much from his lap. Cars are real good in race trim, but they're really loose getting in the corner for qualifying, and we're about identical.
Cooled down just a little bit. Larry Mack Jr. was the 6th fastest car in practice this morning.
You know, the good thing about concrete, and I think we talk about it every time we come here to Bristol and to Dover, it's not as sensitive to temperature changes as much as asphalt, but definitely cooler, could be better. More grip.
Nothing else is some mental help, Larry. If it does cool down, a lot of drivers think that it makes the track better. So if they believe it makes you go faster, that's a good thing. As Tim Fedewa winds up 16th quickest right now after his first lap.
12th in the points, 4 Busch Series poles, including 1 on a short track. 13th for Fedewa, 15:36.
I think that was a little bit on that second lap right there for Timmy Fedewa.
We talked about Gary Cogswell going over to Stacy Compton. Ever since Gary left that team, as we see Casey Kane go out here in the 38 car, they've been struggling without a crew chief with Tim Fedewa, and Dave Few just helping those guys out here this week. That's looks after Jack Sprague's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series truck.
So Casey Kane in the Great Clips 38. He's finished in the top 10 the last 4 races and 6 of the last 7. He'll make his 75th Busch Series career start tomorrow night.
hear him in the rev limiter. We've not heard a lot of cars in the rev limiter, that chip in the ignition system that cuts out cylinders, but you hear a lot of guys talk about overdrive in the entrance of the corner. What that will do is give that driver a signal, hey, it's time to roll out of the throttle here. Casey's first lap, good enough for fourth quickest, 15:24, about the same lap on the second lap. And, of course, his crew chief, Paul Andrews, went to victory lane here a couple of times in Nextel Cup with none other than Alan Kulwicki.
Chevy, Dodge, Wallace, Harvick, Green, and Kane. That's the way they stand so far here in Bristol. Brad Teague from Johnson City, the Fastech Industrial Ford, 15.71, 31st fastest for Teague. Here is Tina Gordon in the Yahoo number 39, making her first Bristol attempt and trying to make her 10th Busch Series start.
Car just don't look good at all. In fact, she was the slowest of all the cars in practice, but since joining this race team at Daytona in July, there you see just way up the racetrack. She can't turn the steering wheel. It's pushing, it's loose, it's doing everything but what it's supposed to do. But she has raced a couple of times in the All-Pro Series here. But she will be the slowest of the 40 cars that's qualified, but she should have a provisional.
16:55 for Gordon. Bob?
Michael Waltrip's boys putting a new transmission in his Aaron Stream machine. But Larry Mack, I want to say I heard you talk about the A-frames and some of the troubles that the guys have here in the springtime. So I ran down to Michael Waltrip's pit. I checked out the A-frame, and you can see you are absolutely right. Larry Mack, you are a smart guy. You can see how the A-frame was bent this morning. Michael mentioned the right front suspension having problems there. Larry, you're a smart man.
Well,
right.
we used to come here and we run maybe a 2,000-pound spring in the right front. Now these guys are running 1,200-pound springs. The cars are traveling, and the suspension almost bottoms out, and something has to give.
New look for Morgan Shepherd's Dodge. Gibson is the sponsor of that number 51, Gibson Products. He's only made 2 Busch Series races this year, Bristol and Richmond. Has 15 wins in the series, all coming in the 1980s. 4 of them right here at Bristol.
Yeah, not a very good qualifying run right now, though. He's 37th quickest. That'll put Rich Markle on the bubble. Caleb Holman's been bumped, John Hayden and Tina Gordon. And we think of those 3 cars, Tina Gordon, definitely one car that has a provision.
And here's the yellow freight Dodge for Casey Mears.
Was 19th quickest in practice at a 15:49. Car looked pretty good through turn 1 and 2.
Really hooked around the bottom right there. He got back in the throttle real aggressive. He looks good through 3 and 4 also.
Coming off a 4th place finish at Michigan. First lap is 18th, 15:38.
Must have looked too good, I guess.
Yep. If he can pick up a 10th, he'd move to the top 8.
But you're right, when a car is right here qualifying, you'll almost pick the throttle up before the center of the corner. But he picks it up quite a bit on that second lap. He'll go to 10th quickest.
15:30.
He almost got your 10th for you, Mike.
Nearly did. He got 90% of it.
I mean, this young man's really kind of coming into his own, no matter whether it's in the Nextel Cup Series or coming back down and driving in the Busch Series. He is doing an awesome job this year of showing how much he's matured over the last season.
Cam Strader, who comes out of the what was the Goodies Dash Series, driving another Food City entry, trying to make his first Busch Series start. He's from Wilson, North Carolina, 24 years old. He was Rookie of the Year of the Dash Series in 2000 and champion the following year with 8 victories in Goodies Dash.
Guys, he's going to have to stand on it. He ran out of racetrack off turn 4. It was not very good in practice. I don't think he's going to be very good here, and this is a go or go home car, no provisionals.
He's in right now, 37th, Larry. They'll take 38, but he'll have to pick that up.
Sure, this lap will be quite a bit slower. Yeah, slow. Not quite a bit, but he slows down. So, yeah, that's going to be borderline. See, he was way up the racetrack there. Just runs out of racetrack.
And Strader coasts in. He is in the show for now. He is 37th. And there are still a bunch of cars left to go.
That bumped Morgan Shepherd as well as Rich Markle, and we're pretty sure Rich Markle is one of the cars that will be going home with no provisionals.
But the good news is right now for Eric McClure, a local guy here from Atlanta, Virginia area, he will be in the race tomorrow night as we're watching Kevin LePage in the Drill Doctor number 72.
I had to ask what the Drill Doctor is, and
well,
what it is, it's a national manufacturer and marketer of drill bit sharpeners.
Thank goodness. I was afraid it had something to do with dental supplies.
I had to ask. Yeah. I had to ask that one.
He's 26th right now, guys, after that one lap.
15:55, and there's the man standing on the pole for now.
Don't jump, Kenny. It's not that bad.
Yeah, Bristol qualifying goes by quick for everyone except for him right now.
Yeah, right. And here's the man he's been waiting for, Mike Bliss. Quick in practice, quickest in practice in the Rockwell Chevy.
He ran a 15:30 in practice. We've been seeing a lot of cars pick up about a 10th. If he indeed picks up that 10th, he can beat Kenny Wallace right now. Picks the throttle up way early over in the middle of turn 3 and 4. Pretty solid looking lap.
Looking good.
No, not at all. 15:46, 23rd quickest.
Well, he was slow in and picked up the throttle early, but just not quick enough at either end on that lap.
You know, Jeff, I know sounds can be deceiving, but it almost sounds like as he picks it up to 14 quickest, they've got almost 2 lower gear in the car. When he rolls out of the throttle, the car just dies because the low gear slows him down. It's just what it sounded like.
And you know from experience that sometimes making the right gear selection here can affect the way, especially how you qualify.
Kenny, cheer up, man.
Or you're not going to have any fingernails left.
The Zapf Creation 02. This is Hermie Sadler out of Emporia, Virginia. 1 pole and 15 Bristol appearances. It came in 1997. The only one of his 3 poles scored on a short track.
Coming up off of turn 2, looked like the back end of his car kicked out a little bit also. So see how he does after his first lap.
He was 38th quickest in practice, 15:90. That does not get in the top 38, but Cam Strader has been bumped out now, so we know he'll be another car going home. Hermie's attempting to make his 250th career Busch Series start here tomorrow night. Picks it up a little bit, 35th quickest. That bumps Mike Potter.
That's going to be borderline, but Hermie should be okay in the provisional department again, depending on what happens with the remaining drivers.
5 cars to go, and he's 35th right now. Trying to stay in the top 38 is
Steve Grissom is on the bubble, and if Grissom gets bumped, he would be the champions provisional, leaving only 4 spots available for the rest of the series regulars. Mike Potter was just bumped in the 0.
Barrett in that 91 car. Stanton was pretty good in practice, Jeff. 26 quickest. This is one of the racetracks he seems like he's always ran awfully good at.
He likes Bristol. I've talked to him several times about it. It's one of his favorite racetracks. See the car bottom out just a little bit, but his first lap was good enough for 30th, so that should put him safely inside the show.
That indeed bumped Steve Grissom out of the top 38, puts Joe Buford on the bubble. Stanton picks it up a little bit more on that second lap.
He's not afraid to drive it off down in the corner, I can promise you that.
15:51 for the Hollywood stuntman and the Busch Series regular. I think he's double dipping this weekend. Is he trying the Cup show?
He is.
Yes, he is.
Well, here's another car Kenny Wallace has been waiting on. Dale Earnhardt Jr., an 81 car.
Hey, Kenny, take you a deep breath, buddy. It'll be over real quick. You'll know what the deal is.
Kenny, take a breath. Dale Earnhardt Jr., hold your breath.
That's right.
Junior's last Busch Series race was at Richmond in September 02, where he started from the pole, led 190 of 250 laps, and won it.
Well, his last...
on the short track.
Non-restrictor plate Busch race. Was the winner at Daytona in the Busch Series race back in February. He's on the pole, 15-16.
Did you hear him tickle the rev limiter going into 1?
That's it. It's not to keep from turning too many RPMs. It's a gauge for that driver to roll out of the throttle. He's going to take the second lap. slows down a little bit, but the second lap would have been good enough for the Busch pole.
15.16 seconds. Dale Jr. goes to the pole.
And Kenny's up there right now thinking, now, darn it, why did you have to come run this race this time?
If it holds up, this would be Junior's 7th Busch Series short track pole. And that bumps Joe Buford out of the top 38 and sends Buford home. He, Rick Markle, and Cam Strader are definitely going to the house.
Hey, what, Mike McLaughlin, 25 car, he was pretty quick in practice, 14th quickest.
Don't rule him out, guys. He may be a spoiler.
13th. Good lap. Now, he and Harold Holly teamed up together to form a Cup team a year and a half ago. However, the ownership of the team was a scam job. They ordered a whole bunch of parts, pieces, and cars. Nobody ever got paid. The team had to shut down without running a race or anybody ever getting a paycheck. And McLaughlin's been idle ever since, except for some test drives and a couple of fill-ins for Greg Biffle when Biffle's been having double-duty weekends. But here's McLaughlin after that long layoff. 9th fastest, identical lap to Greg Biffle, 15.265. Great job.
Yeah, he picked it up on that second lap.
Mike, when you talk about the 265, there are 3 guys tied at a 15.265. Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, and Mike McLaughlin.
And that's how they will start in order of point standings to break the tie. So Mike Wallace in the Geico Ford, 15.265 is the fastest Ford lap of the day. We'll see what Wallace and the Gecko or Geico or both can do.
15.62, that's only good for 33rd quickest. You know, Jeff, earlier we were talking about the big festival downtown tonight. Tonight, Food City and the Speedway, they're honoring the entire Wallace family down there with their contribution to motorsports in the Bristol area.
So Mike Wallace 31st. The man who's really on the hot seat right now is Brad Teague. Teague is 38th as Tony Raines comes onto the Speedway. If Teague gets bumped out of the top 38, he goes home. If Raines does not get a good lap, then Teague stays to race.
That would be a shame because, as we mentioned earlier, Brad was awfully good in practice. Hometown boy, he just did not pick it up, actually slowed down and qualified.
Guys, right now, Tony Raines looks like he's got him a good lap coming.
He was 33rd quickest in practice at a 15.71. This looks a little better. I'll say 15.27, 10th quickest.
I told you it looked good.
Real good.
And that'll send Brad Teague to the house. He'll be one of the 8 that go home.
I mean, I got at least one ride out of 51.
Not a bad average. And looky there, second quickest for Tony on that second lap. And he almost beat Dale Earnhardt Jr. 4 1/1000ths of a second slower.
What'd I tell you? What'd I tell you?
Blind pig will find an acorn every once in a while.
Tony Raines, the former ASA champ, will share the front row with this man, Dale Earnhardt Jr., in the Food City 250 tomorrow night. Scoreboard tells the story. 126.57 miles per hour. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the Busch pole. Let's talk to him.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. just beat Kenny Wallace, but then you almost got beat by Tony Raines. Were you a little nervous there?
I didn't know if Tony was going to be that good, but I didn't really know how he did in practice. Our car was pretty good. Didn't think we'd pick up that much, but we had a late draw too, and it definitely had to cool off a little bit. Just want to thank Menards and Spy Sunglasses and all the people that have helped us on this Busch team and helped me. It's been pretty fun. This is our last race this year, and we're going to do some Busch racing next year, and we'll probably do it at other tracks like this and instead of the plate tracks all the time. But it's a lot of fun, good effort by us, Chance 2 guys today.
Dale Jr. has 19 career Busch Series wins, but he's never won here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Artie?
Well, Bob, from 33rd to 2nd for Tony Raines. Did that lap surprise you, Tony?
No, not really. We actually didn't get our qualifying run in practice. We were on our way there, and we had a little issue with the sway bar. We didn't get out there, so we're really good first half of practice. And you know, the last 3 or 4 races, we've just had the monkey on our back, and we come here to a racetrack. We run well early in the spring, and trying to shake this thing, get going. And so I'm not surprised. The car's been good since we unloaded. Hopefully, it'll stay that way all night. We can avoid some trouble.
This is one of Tony's best racetracks. He has 4 straight top 10 finishes here at Bristol. Mike?
Thanks, Marty. 5 Chevys will lead him to the green flag tomorrow night, followed by 2 Dodges, a Chevy, and 2 Fords in the top 10.
Also, I look at the top 10. We see 5 Busch Regulars and 5 Bushwhackers.
Yeah, nice run for Raines and Mike McLaughlin. Nice comeback.
Nice job by them. And Kenny Wallace, I know I hate to see him get beat as far as the pole's concerned, but hey, he's at least third, Larry. He's on the inside.
See Carl Edwards there outside of row 7. Our points leader, Martin Truex Jr., outside of row 6.
And a look back through the top 30.
Some guys that maybe come from the back like Matt Kenseth and Jason Leffler. They should be interesting to watch starting back here in row 13.
See Ashton Lewis Jr. there in the 46 car. No sponsor on that car most of the year, sitting 10th in points right now.
And Eric McClure, the hometown fellow who just made it in on the last spot. And there are the rest of the provisionals, including Steve Grissom, former champ. So the miss the field cars include Cam Strader, Mike Potter, John Hayden, Morgan Shepherd, Brad Teague. The last car to run, Bump Teague, Joe Buford, Rick Markle, and Caleb Holman will go home.
You know, not only did we have 51 cars here today, we had a lot of good race cars here.
Saw a very fast field being formed here. If you take a look, pole all the way back through 38, you're only talking about half a second.
Tough luck for Hayden getting into the fence. Tough luck for Michael Waltrip when his transmission wouldn't shift, but he made the best of it and got a decent spot.
It could have been a lot tougher if he had not made that lap and not been in this show.
That was everything, baby.
Thanks for joining us at Bristol. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the pole winner for the Food City 250.